Hi, Paul. How are you?
Hey Diti, how's it going? Thanks for welcoming me into the community. It's good to be here with you and with everyone else.
I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking our time and for being here and like being ready to open up with the community. And I know we built this as a safe space. So I hope that people will be encouraged and inspired by your journey. So the space is yours.
Oh, thank you so much. Yeah, so yeah, it's lovely to be here. I guess some of you will already have met me and know me. For those of you who haven't, yeah, my name's Paul. I'm one of the health coaches at Beyondbmi. And yeah, it's an honor to kind of be here with you today in this space to share a little bit about my story, I guess, with my well-being journey, my challenges with weight over the years as well. And I think my effort in my intention, I guess, is to sort of share and hopefully give you some tips as well. Just to kind of talk a little bit about the process and yeah, hopefully kind of get the conversation started a little bit when it comes to yeah, opening up and sharing a little bit more. And this is a space, like Aditi says, where we encourage and offer you that space to do that. And again, what you want to share and bring is totally your own. There's no pressure. But hopefully, just in sharing our story, sometimes we can kind of feel like we're supported and not alone, and maybe learn or kind of get something from each other as well.
Yeah,
Um, so yeah,
that's a really good point.
yeah. So maybe I can just start and just kind of give a quick overview of kind of my journey with well-being. It's interesting because it's maybe about 10 years since I started kind of actually really taking care of myself in terms of looking after and being kind of mindful of, what I eat, how I move my body, how I look after my mental health. And so I guess to frame it for a lot of people, to share this, like uh, like I was overweight for most of my life up until probably from like about age of 8 or 9 until 30. I kind of had weight problems. I was always maybe 20 to 30 pounds overweight. And I kind of carried that with me throughout, my adolescence and into you know, my teenage years, my into my 20s, and it was a challenge, obviously, of all of those different things that that come up with just feeling kind of not quite yourself, feeling like you're not really as healthy as you could be, looking in the mirror and not feeling like you really like what you see. So it's been a long journey for me in terms of like this has been present in my life for a long time, and it wasn't really until like my adult life where in like the beginning of my 30s where I really kind of felt kind of able to really kind of make a big shift and change in my life around, doing things to take care of myself. Um, I'd always kind of dipped in and out of kind of going to the gym and working out and things like that, and nothing ever really seemed to work. So it wasn't really until I kind of did a lot of research, got into like reading a lot more about, nutrition. And I guess at the time, the paleo diet was really big online, and I was interested in things like that. And I'm not here to advocate any type of diet or anything like that. It's just some of these things were kind of interesting to me at the time. And then I was reading about all sorts of different diets, and then the amount of information overload became very confusing
Yeah.
as well because there's a contradicting thing to everything that I read.
Mm.
But what I did was just put some things into practice. And what I kind of discovered was that through some consistency and experimentation, I kind of found my own formula that worked for me. And that was
Mm.
the thing that was like my biggest kind of takeaway is that for me and for anyone watching, we kind of have our own sort of secret recipe that maybe we need to
Yeah.
own, and that can be using different tools or parts from different ways of eating and moving and all of these different things. So that was kind of a big breakthrough for me. And over maybe 3 or 4 months, I lost quite a lot of weight quite quickly. I kind of lost maybe 20 pounds, 24 pounds or so in quite a short period of time. And in hindsight, looking back on it, what I was doing was suddenly kind of going from not doing much at all to like a lot of resistance training, a lot of high intensity training. Uh, Without really knowing it, I was kind of intermittent fasting before I knew what that was. So I was just eating later in the day. I was eating a lot more protein. I was obviously not eating a lot of sugar and things like that. So I didn't really know what I was doing. But in hindsight now, I can see maybe why I experienced a lot of quite quick weight loss, you know, and
Mm.
kind of thread the pieces back now that I understand a bit more about it. So that was a big shift for me. And over like a couple of years, I was able to kind of maintain that. And then I've kind of had cycles of like, weight kind of coming up again, not to the same point, but maybe, 12 pounds sometimes coming up as far as that, coming back down again. And it's in my life, it's something that I have to be mindful of.
Yeah.
It's something that I have to kind of keep track of. And I
How
guess
do
the
you
point,
manage that?
how do I manage it? It takes it takes my intention. It
Mm.
takes me to sort of, okay, I need to consciously choose to go and do the things that I know nourish me physically and mentally, you know? And not, I don't succeed every day, but that's okay as well. I know that just part of being human, this stuff happens. And I've learned to, I think, have a lot more forgiveness around myself as well, and be able to not give myself such a hard time for when when things slip out of alignment in terms of how I'd like things to be. Um, so it's a challenge to maintain these things, but it takes intention and focus as well. And that's kind of what personally I have to keep reminding myself and doing that, Because I think one of the things that I've experienced from just like reading about diet and well-being online, and a lot of the messages is like you do something for maybe 8, 12, 24 weeks, you get your goal, you get to where you want to be, and then that's it, you're done.
Mm. Mm.
Whereas what I discovered is like that's it's a wonderful thing to kind of get to where you want to be in terms of how you feel and look and feeling healthy and well. But it's like what happens after that then as well. It's I think what I would share with people is that, in my opinion, it's become like my life's work. Like our well-being is an everyday activity. So what I'd maybe offer people is this kind of sort of shift in mindset between being hyper focused on getting to a certain place, that if we do things just consistently over time, we'll create this natural kind of outcome. And when we get there, we just have to keep going, we keep going, and we keep going.
Mm.
Our health and our well-being doesn't get to the point where we're finished. That's my view. It's not
Mm.
it's our life's work. And I think that's the biggest lesson that I've got through kind of my journey with health and well-being, is that it's never done. If my attention to nourishing myself and taking care of myself and allowing, my ego or my other things just like draw me away from what's important about doing things for myself like that, then that's where I kind of run into some trouble sometimes. I get distracted, I get caught in thoughts and stories that aren't necessarily true. And, I'm an emotional eater. Food has always been a comfort for me. So like that's a challenge that I've always kind of lived with. So that's very present and something that I have to work with as well. Um, so yeah, it's not easy, it's a challenge, but coming back to the intention of doing the best you can do. And
Mm.
sometimes we don't do as good as we'd like. And what I would say then is that this is the opportunity for like compassion and forgiveness. It's one of the maybe more challenging things that we can offer ourselves. I know it definitely was for me and still is, but it can be the most kind of liberating in terms of like kind of helping to kind of get back on track and kind of seeing things again from that long-term perspective of, this journey isn't linear. We're humans, we all make mistakes, life gets in the way. So this road ahead can be, very smooth for a while. It can take twists and turns and sideways movements, even feels like you're going backwards sometimes. But by kind of coming back to like what's important to you, going back to focus on your well-being, the things that kind of really nourish you in those ways, and offering yourself a little bit of forgiveness and not being so hard on yourself can be really, really beneficial in my experience to kind of
Yeah.
help and move forward, just keep moving forward, just one small step at a time. We don't need to do it, be perfect at all. It's just move forward as with intention.
Yeah. So, I mean, you've been on your journey for like what, 10 years now. And the question that I would love to ask you is that what are your 2 cents that you would like to give to our clients at Beyond BMI who are working with you, who are working with Beyond BMI every day on their journey of for weight loss?
Oh, that's a good question. I think I've alluded to or mentioned some of it already.
Yeah.
Um, I would offer two things. I would offer like this concept of committing to your well-being for your life.
Mm,
Is this lifelong path. And maybe you've been on a journey already and you've come to us looking for support in a different way. Um, Moving forward, just coming back to this concept of it's the things that you're going to be doing day in, day out for the rest of your life that's going to impact your well-being. And with that kind of mindset of seeing the long game in a way of like it's a long process, it can be quite useful as well in terms of like you can focus your energy on that rather than kind of getting caught up in that like I have to lose this much weight by the end of next week, or I have to do X or Y by then to see all this progress.
mm,
And it's very natural to want to see a lot of progress quickly and get all these things, but we're all different, and this journey can be look very different for all of us as well.
mm,
So by shifting more into like, well, how will I feel and look, and how will my life be in 6 months, 12 months, 24 months, and beyond, focusing into that longer time frame, then things can feel like they are moving at a more realistic pace as well.
mm,
But just coming back into like, what can I do for myself day in, day out, the best that I can with what's available to me. That over time, over this long period of time, is just going to gradually add up more and more and more into like really nourishing me in every single way possible.
yeah.
I think that's the biggest takeaway that, from my experience, that I can offer people in the community. Um, and the second one is around, I think, bringing compassion and forgiveness. I know I've kind of mentioned this as well, but we can be our own hardest critic, and we can
Mm,
treat ourselves so unkindly sometimes, more unkindly than we'd ever think of treating anyone else. And if we kind of make little missteps, or what we perceive to be as missteps when it comes to eating or dieting or any of these kind of things, it can, in my own experience, I'm just going to use my own experience here, that it can kind of create this ripple effect of like it's hard to bounce back from. Sometimes we might create more like binge eating or just moving out of alignment with where you're going. Just for example, if we have some ways of like taking care of ourselves in terms of giving ourselves a bit of a break and bringing forgiveness, and again, one little misstep is not the end of things. Again, looking at this longer time frame, this longer period, one small misstep over this long time frame really isn't
mm,
anything to get worried about. But in the moment, it feels very real. It feels very
mm,
like, oh my God, I've messed up. I'm a failure. All these different things. Whereas that's just one narrow viewpoint, and we can kind of take a bigger perspective and see it from a different angle, that actually it's not as impactful as we might think on a human. Humans make mistakes. This is a part of life. With that in mind, how can I move on and just kind of come back to doing the things? So taking some of that emotional resonance away from these actions that we kind of deem as failures.
yeah.
So bringing a little bit of softness, a bit of kindness to ourselves, giving ourselves a break, and how can we just like resume that
Mm,
normal day to day? What are the things that I can do for myself that's going to help nourish me today? What's the best I can do with the choices available to me? And then coming back to, yeah, just that intention, coming more inside, I think.
That's beautiful. Yeah. I think a lot of people will resonate to that, and I hope they will get very good things out of your journey, and they'll feel inspired that, and also the fact that they're not alone. We are here to support them.
Yeah,
And
absolutely. One last thing I'll share, like I used to get, and I still get this as well, get stuck around like in comparison, like how I'm doing compared to other people, especially online, like I will look at some people and think, oh, well, I should look more like that person, or my body should look more like that, or, you know, all of this comparison, I should be further along by now. What are other people getting from this? Should I look more like them or see these kind of results by now? That getting caught in that comparison from that ego part of the brain is totally natural. But what I would offer, and this is my own experience as well, it's a real suck of our energy. It's like it really brings us in down a different road potentially. We get very caught in like comparison, and it can sort of bring that inner critic voice back. It can sometimes discount the good work that we're doing, and by constantly comparing to someone else or other things going on, it can be a real distraction and really hinder the progress. So, as a gentle reminder, and I'm saying this again to myself because I struggle with this as well, refocusing that energy from comparison back to like, what can you do just for you? And
mhm,
you are unique, your journey is unique. How you respond to the inputs in your body, be it nutritionally, from the medication, from the movement you do, from any mindfulness or yoga, all of these different things whatever you might be doing, all of these inputs, your body will respond in a unique way to me or to Aditi or to anyone else in this community. So that is something that I would just like to bring, to acknowledge that your journey is your own. Our journeys are our own. We can share them. It'd be lovely to share and hear, but maybe bringing this concept of our journeys are our own. And when we are speaking about our journey, it's nice to just allow people to share that without feeling like there's any need for comment or judgment or things like that as well. So I think this space can be work really wonderfully well if we feel like we can just share and people
yeah,
listen, want to kind of say yes or that's me. But I think it can be really useful to be able to share without, once the share is over, that's it. There doesn't need to be any like offer of advice, even if it's in the best interest, or any kind of have you tried this or things like that. Because again, our journey is our own. And I think sometimes we just want to be witnessed and be heard and to just share our experience as well. So those are just some things that have helped me in terms of communicating this stuff as well. So I'll just leave that here again for people to take what you will from all of these things. Some of
yeah.
this may resonate, some of this may not, and that's totally fine. Again, this is just for you. If there's any value here, then that's a beautiful thing. If it's not for you right now, then that's totally okay. So
Thank you for coming to the platform and sharing your journey.
my absolute
It's,
pleasure. Yeah, and then
yeah,
I hope we kind of can get the conversation started a little bit. And yeah, if
exactly.
people feel free to share anything below in the comments, would be and any questions that come up, feel free to reach out as well.